The plasma bolt missed Commander Jake Morrison's head by inches. He rolled behind a twisted metal beam as the alien weapon fire tore through the space station's corridor. 3 of his Marines were already down. The Zelkari had broken through humanity's outer defenses faster than anyone predicted. "Fall back to Section 7, Jake shouted into his comm. His tactical display showed red markers everywhere. 40 enemy soldiers were pushing through their position. The station's hull groaned under the stress of repeated impacts from the alien warships outside. Lieutenant Amy Brooks dragged a wounded soldier behind cover. Blood streaked across her armor. "Sir, they're cutting through the blast doors. We have maybe 2 minutes. Jake checked his rifle's charge. 70%. Not enough for a prolonged fight. The Zelkari were 7 feet tall with 4 arms and reflexes that made them deadly in close combat. Their empire had conquered 12 species in the past century. Now they wanted Earth. The war started 3 days ago when their fleet appeared at the edge of human space. No warning, no demands, just attacks on every colony and station within reach. Earth's military scrambled to respond. But the Zelkari technology was superior. Their shields absorbed most human weapons fire. Their ships moved faster. Their soldiers were stronger. But Jake had learned something during the past 70 hours of constant fighting. The Zelkari were arrogant. They believed humans were weak, soft, easy prey like the other species they dominated. "Brooks, prep the charges," Jake ordered. He pulled up the station's structural blueprint on his wrist display. Section 7 connected to the main fuel depot. If they could lure enough Zelkari inside, they could turn their advantage into a trap. "Commander, that'll destroy half the station," Brooks said. "Better than letting them use it as a staging point for their attack on Mars." Jake moved to the corridor junction. He could hear the aliens cutting through the doors. The high-pitched whine of their plasma torches echoed through the metal walls. His comm crackled. "Morrison, this is Admiral Hayes on the Titan. We're 3 hours out." "Can you hold?" "Negative, sir. We're rigging the station to blow." "Get our people off the nearby platforms. This is going to send debris everywhere." A long pause. Then, "Understood. Make it count, Commander." Jake signaled his remaining Marines. 12 soldiers against 40 aliens. The odds were terrible, but humans had something the Zelkari didn't understand. Humans fought hardest when cornered, when protecting their home, when they had nothing left to lose. The blast doors exploded inward. Zelkari warriors rushed through the smoke, their weapons raised. Jake opened fire, his rounds punching through the first alien's chestplate. The creature fell, and 3 more took its place. "Now!" Jake screamed. His Marines triggered their weapons simultaneously. The corridor erupted in flames and shrapnel. Several Zelkari fell, but more kept coming. They moved with frightening speed, their 4 arms allowing them to fire while advancing with shields raised. Brooks set the last charge on the fuel line. 30 seconds, Commander." Jake's rifle clicked empty. He drew his sidearm and kept firing. A Zelkari blade sliced across his shoulder, drawing blood. He spun and shot the alien in the face at point-blank range. 2 more closed in from his left. "Everybody out," he yelled. His Marines sprinted toward the evacuation pods. Jake followed, firing over his shoulder. The Zelkari were right behind them, howling in their guttural language. Brooks reached the pod first and held the door. "Come on, sir." Jake dove through the opening as a plasma bolt scorched the wall beside him. The pod sealed and launched just as the fuel depot exploded. The blast wave caught them, spinning the pod wildly through space. Through the viewport, Jake watched Section 7 tear apart, taking dozens of Zelkari soldiers with it. But it wasn't enough. 3 alien battlecruisers still orbited the station, their weapons charged for another volley. Humanity had drawn first blood, but the Zelkari had barely noticed. This was just the beginning of a war that would decide whether humans survived or became another conquered species in the alien empire's long history. Jake stared at the approaching warships and made a silent promise. The Zelkari thought they knew what humans were capable of. They were about to learn the truth. When humanity showed its true strength, the galaxy would understand that this war had truly begun, and Earth would not go quietly into extinction. The next 72 hours pushed humanity to the breaking point. Admiral Catherine Hayes stood on the bridge of the battleship Titan watching the tactical display with growing concern. 30 human ships faced a Zelkari fleet twice that size near Jupiter's orbit. The aliens had pushed through every defensive line with brutal efficiency. "Enemy fleet accelerating," reported Lieutenant Commander Ryan Foster. "They're moving into attack formation." Catherine studied the holographic display. The Zelkari arranged their ships in a three-dimensional sphere, a tactic that allowed them to concentrate fire from multiple angles. Human doctrine hadn't prepared for enemies who thought in full spatial dimensions rather than traditional naval formations. "Deploy the fleet in delta pattern," she ordered. "Keep our heavy cruisers at the center, frigates on the flanks." The Titan shuddered as Zelkari plasma cannons opened fire. Shields flared blue as they absorbed the incoming energy. A frigate on the left flank exploded when its shields failed under concentrated fire. 40 souls gone in an instant. Return fire, all batteries. The human fleet unleashed railgun rounds and missile salvos. The projectiles streaked through space at tremendous velocity. Most impacted harmlessly against Zelkari shields. A few penetrated, tearing into alien hull plating. One destroyer broke apart, venting atmosphere and debris. But for every Zelkari ship damaged, humanity lost 2. The aliens' regenerating shields gave them a critical advantage. Human shields were stronger initially, but couldn't recharge during combat. Once depleted, ships became vulnerable. "Ma'am, we're losing the frigates on the right flank," Foster reported. 3 ships destroyed, 2 more heavily damaged. Catherine gritted her teeth. She'd commanded fleets for 20 years, fought pirates and separatists, but never faced an enemy like this. The Zelkari moved with coordinated precision that suggested either exceptional training or some form of shared consciousness. Every ship knew exactly where to be, when to fire, when to evade. Order all damaged vessels to fall back to the moon. Everyone else, tight formation. "We're going to punch through their center." "Sir, that's suicide," Foster said. "Maybe. But if we let them maintain their formation, we're dead anyway. At least this way we take some of them with us." The Titan's engines roared to full power. The massive battleship accelerated toward the heart of the Zelkari fleet, with 20 other human vessels following in tight formation. Plasma fire intensified. 2 more ships exploded before they covered half the distance. On Earth, billions watched the battle on their screens. Cities had gone dark to conserve power for the military effort. Factories worked around the clock producing ammunition and replacement parts. Every person understood what was at stake. If the fleet failed here, nothing stood between the Zelkari and Earth itself. In Beijing, engineers worked frantically on a new weapon system. Dr. Lisa Chen hadn't slept in 40 hours. Her team had discovered something about Zelkari shields during analysis of wreckage from the first battles. The shields operated on a rotating frequency pattern. If they could match that pattern and fire at the exact moment of transition, weapons might penetrate with full force. "Run the simulation again," she told her assistant. Numbers scrolled across her screen. The weapon would need perfect timing, a millisecond too early or late, and the shot would scatter harmlessly against the shields. "Dr. Chen, we're getting more data from the Jupiter engagement," her assistant said. "The Zelkari are using a new frequency pattern." Lisa pulled up the fresh information. Her heart sank. The aliens were adapting faster than anticipated. Every battle provided them data to improve their defenses. Humanity needed a breakthrough, something the Zelkari couldn't predict or counter. Back at Jupiter, the Titan smashed into the Zelkari formation. Catherine's gambit paid off. At close range, the aliens couldn't bring their full firepower to bear without risking friendly fire. Human railguns tore into enemy ships at point-blank range. The Zelkari battlecruiser at the formation's center took dozens of hits, its shields flickering and failing. "Target that cruiser." "Everything we have," Catherine ordered. Every human weapon focused on the wounded ship. Railgun slugs punched through its hull, missiles found gaps in its armor. The cruiser's reactor went critical, and the explosion consumed 3 nearby Zelkari destroyers. But the victory cost them. Half the human fleet was gone. The Titan's shields had failed, and enemy fire scored its hull plating. Crew sections vented into space. Damage reports flooded the bridge. "Ma'am, multiple hull breaches on decks 5 through 12, Foster reported. "Engineering reports we've lost main power to the port weapons grid." Catherine watched the tactical display. The Zelkari were regrouping, pulling back to reform their sphere. They'd learned from the human tactic and wouldn't let it work twice. Her remaining ships were battered and low on ammunition. This battle was lost. "All ships retreat to the moon," she ordered. Maximum speed. The human fleet turned and burned hard for home. Zelkari ships pursued but didn't press the attack. They'd won decisively and knew it. Why risk more losses when the enemy was already beaten? As the Titan limped toward lunar orbit, Catherine received an urgent transmission from Earth. General Connor Brady's face appeared on her screen. He looked exhausted, with deep lines around his eyes. "Admiral Hayes, we need to talk about Project Valkyrie," he said. Catherine knew that name. It was humanity's last desperate option, a weapon system so extreme that using it would change everything. "Sir, we haven't even finished testing. We're out of time. The Zelkari will reach Earth orbit in 60 hours. Every defense we have will slow them by maybe 12 hours. After that, they start orbital bombardment. What about evacuation? Where would they go? The colony ships aren't ready. Mars can't support Earth's population. If the Zelkari take Earth, humanity ends." Brady leaned forward. "Project Valkyrie is dangerous and untested, but it's the only card we have left to play." Catherine thought of the billions of people depending on her, children who'd never see adulthood if the Zelkari won, cities that would become ruins, everything humanity had built over thousands of years erased. "Send me the implementation plan," she said. "We'll make it work." After Brady's image faded, Catherine stared at the tactical display. The Zelkari fleet regrouped at Jupiter, confident in their superiority. They'd conquered 12 species using the same overwhelming tactics. Humanity was just another notch on their empire's belt, but they'd made one critical mistake. They assumed humans would fight like every other species. Desperate, yes, but ultimately predictable. They didn't understand that when humans faced extinction, they became something else entirely. Something dangerous, something that would rather destroy everything than submit to conquest. Catherine pulled up the Valkyrie specifications. The weapon could work, but the cost would be enormous. Using it meant crossing a line that couldn't be uncrossed. It meant showing the galaxy what humans were truly capable of when pushed to the absolute limit. She thought of her daughter on Earth, of all the families waiting to learn if they'd see another sunrise. Then she made her decision. "Foster, get me a secure line to all fleet commanders. We're implementing Valkyrie." "Ma'am, are you certain?" Catherine watched the Zelkari ships through the viewport, their hulls gleaming in Jupiter's reflected light. The Zelkari wanted war. They're about to get more than they bargained for. Across the solar system, humanity prepared for its final stand. Factories increased production to impossible levels. Civilian ships were armed and pressed into military service. Every person with combat training reported for duty. On Mars, the colonies prepared for siege. The asteroid belt miners rigged their explosive charges for combat use. And on Earth, in a facility buried 3 miles beneath the Swiss Alps, scientists activated systems that would change the nature of the war. Project Valkyrie wasn't just a weapon. It was a declaration, a message to the Zelkari and every other species watching this conflict. Humanity would not be conquered. Not today. Not ever. The countdown began. 60 hours until the Zelkari reached Earth. 60 hours for humanity to show its true strength. 60 hours until the galaxy learned what happened when humans decided that survival meant total war. The aliens had started this fight believing it would be easy. They were about to discover their mistake, and by the time they understood what humanity was capable of, it would be far too late to stop what was coming. Project Valkyrie hummed to life in the depths of the Swiss facility. Colonel Marcus Webb watched technicians make final adjustments to the quantum displacement array. The machine stretched 300 meters across, its crystalline core pulsing with contained energy. Every physicist who'd worked on the project insisted it violated known laws of physics. Marcus didn't care about the science. He cared about results. "Status report," he demanded. Nathan Price looked up from his console. "The array is stable. We're generating enough power to maintain the field for approximately 14 hours. After that, the system will collapse and we'll need 48 hours for a cold restart. Will 14 hours be enough for what we're planning? More than enough, assuming the field propagates correctly." Marcus moved to the observation window. Below, the array's core blazed like a captured star. Project Valkyrie was based on research humanity had only begun exploring before the war. Quantum entanglement on a massive scale, the ability to create localized distortions in spacetime itself. In simple terms, they were building a weapon that could tear holes in reality. "How many ships can we affect simultaneously?" Marcus asked. "Our model suggests the field will impact everything within a 50,000-kilometer radius of the generation point. That should encompass the Zelkari fleet if they maintain their current formation." Marcus checked the tactical feed from lunar orbit. The alien fleet had begun its final approach to Earth. 80 warships, each capable of reducing cities to ash. Admiral Hayes had positioned humanity's remaining 40 ships between the Zelkari and home. It wasn't enough. Everyone knew it wasn't enough, but they didn't need to win the conventional battle. They just needed to buy time for Valkyrie to deploy. "Begin the activation sequence," Marcus ordered, "and pray this works." The array's hum intensified. Power drawn from every grid on the planet flowed into the facility. Cities dimmed as electricity diverted to the weapon. People sat in darkness, knowing their fate depended on technology they didn't understand. Above Earth, the battle began. Admiral Hayes watched the Zelkari fleet approach. They moved with absolute confidence, their shields shimmering in the sunlight. No reason for caution when facing an enemy they'd already beaten repeatedly. "All ships, weapons free," Catherine commanded. "Make every shot count." The human fleet opened fire. Railgun slugs and missiles streaked toward the aliens. Most impacted shields and dissipated. A few got through, scoring minor damage. The Zelkari returned fire with devastating accuracy. A human destroyer exploded, then a cruiser, then 2 frigates. "Ma'am, we can't sustain this," Foster reported. "We're losing ships faster than we can damage them." "I know. Hold formation. Make them work for every meter." On the Zelkari flagship, War Commander Thek watched the primitive human vessels with disdain. These creatures fought bravely but futilely. Their technology was centuries behind Zelkari standards. Their tactics were predictable. This battle would end like all the others, with human ships as debris and their planet helpless before orbital bombardment. "Intensify fire on their capital ships," Thek ordered. "I want this finished within the hour." The Zelkari battlecruisers concentrated their plasma cannons. The human battleship Titan took hit after hit. Its shields were already gone. Now armor plating melted under sustained fire. Internal explosions ripped through multiple decks. "Ma'am, we've lost engines," Foster shouted over the chaos. "Life support is failing on 12 decks. We're dead in space." Catherine gripped her command chair as the ship shuddered. They'd bought 37 minutes. Project Valkyrie needed 14 more. Transfer all remaining power to weapons. If we're going down, we're taking some of them with us. The Titan's guns blazed. With engines offline, the ship couldn't maneuver, but it could still fight. Its railguns hammered a Zelkari cruiser until the alien vessel's shields finally collapsed. The killing shot punched through the cruiser's reactor. The explosion lit up space, but it wasn't enough. More human ships fell, the defensive line broke apart. Zelkari warships pushed through toward Earth, their weapons charging for planetary bombardment. In the Swiss facility, alarms blared. "Array at maximum power," Nathan shouted. "Field generation in 30 seconds." Marcus opened a channel to Admiral Hayes. "Valkyrie is ready. Get your people clear of the target zone. On the Titan's bridge, Catherine gave the order she'd been dreading. All ships retreat to low Earth orbit, maximum emergency speed. The surviving human vessels turned and burned away from the Zelkari fleet. The aliens pursued, sensing final victory. Nick allowed himself a moment of satisfaction. These humans had fought harder than expected, but the outcome was never in doubt. Another species would fall before the Zelkari Empire's might. Then reality broke. The quantum displacement field activated at the exact center of the Zelkari formation. Space itself twisted. The laws of physics that governed matter and energy suddenly operated under different rules. The change was invisible but absolute. Zelkari shields designed to deflect energy and matter encountered something they couldn't process. The quantum field didn't attack the shields. It changed the fundamental constants that made the shields function. In an instant, every shield in the affected zone collapsed. But that was just the first effect. The field also altered the molecular bonds in Zelkari hull alloys. Materials that could withstand nuclear weapons suddenly became brittle. Microscopic cracks appeared in every surface, then larger cracks. Then catastrophic structural failures. Diggs' flagship shuddered. His tactical display showed red warnings across every system. What is happening? Report. His science officer's voice trembled with fear. Commander, our shields are gone. Hull integrity is at 32% and dropping. The structural supports are failing. All of them simultaneously. That's impossible. It's happening. Whatever the humans deployed, it's tearing us apart at the molecular level. Across the Zelkari fleet, ships began breaking apart, not from weapons fire, but from their own mass. Without structural integrity, the vessels couldn't maintain their shape. They crumpled like crushed cans. Crew sections vented into space. Reactors went critical. Ammunition stores exploded. In less than 2 minutes, 80 Zelkari warships became debris fields. Marcus watched the results on his display. The quantum field had worked exactly as theorized. By altering local physics, they'd turned the Zelkari's advanced technology into a liability. The aliens had built their empire on superior materials and energy systems. Valkyrie made all of it worthless. Field collapse in 12 minutes, Nathan reported. The array is starting to overheat. We need to shut down soon or risk permanent damage. Keep it running until the last alien ship is disabled, Marcus ordered. We're not getting a second chance at this. Admiral Hayes watched from Earth orbit as the Zelkari fleet died. No weapons fired. No battles fought. Just sudden, total destruction of an enemy that had seemed invincible hours ago. It was terrifying and awesome in equal measure. My God, Foster whispered. We actually did it. Catherine didn't share his relief. She understood what humanity had just demonstrated. The galaxy would be watching. Every species with spacefaring capability would see the recordings of this battle. They'd see what humans created when pushed to the edge of extinction. Get rescue teams out there, she ordered. Search for survivors, Zelkari and human both. Ma'am, the Zelkari attacked us without warning. Why save them? Because we're not conquerors. We defended our home. That doesn't mean we slaughter helpless enemies, but the decision was largely academic. Few Zelkari survived. The quantum field's effects had been too sudden and absolute. The few escape pods that launched successfully were picked up by human ships and taken to secure facilities. Prisoners of war, not trophies. In the wreckage of the flagship, Vec floated in his command chair, his body broken by explosive decompression. With his last moments of consciousness, he accessed his ship's emergency beacon. A message would transmit across the galaxy. Not a call for help, a warning. To all Zelkari forces, Earth is too dangerous. Humans have weapons that break physics. They are not prey. Repeat, not prey. Withdraw from human space. Immediately. Then darkness claimed him. The battle's aftermath sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Zelkari Empire, which had conquered 12 species and terrified dozens more, retreated from human territory. Their remaining fleets pulled back to their core worlds. The species they'd subjugated began to whisper about rebellion. But humanity's problems were just beginning. The Galactic Council, A loose confederation of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations demanded answers. How had humans developed technology that violated fundamental physics? What else were they capable of? Were they a threat to all spacefaring life? Ambassador Claire Foster stood before the Council's assembly on the neutral station Harmony. Representatives from 40 different species watched her with expressions ranging from fear to anger to calculation. "The humans have violated the Treaty of Universal Constants," declared the Zoth representative. "They deployed a weapon that alters local physics. This is forbidden technology." Claire kept her voice steady. "Earth was under attack. We exercised our right to self-defense. By creating a weapon that threatens all life in the galaxy, what's to stop you from using this technology aggressively?" "We won't. The quantum displacement array is a defensive system. We have no territorial ambitions beyond our own solar system." "Forgive us if we find that difficult to believe," said the Korathi ambassador. "You've demonstrated capabilities that surpass most council members. Species with such power inevitably seek to expand it." Claire had prepared for this argument. She pulled up holographic displays showing Earth's defensive posture. "We've dismantled the Valkyrie array. The technology still exists in our databases, but the physical weapon is gone. We took this step as a gesture of good faith." Lies. The array sat in pieces, yes, but not destroyed. Dismantled so it could be rebuilt quickly if needed. Every government official involved in the decision had agreed. Trust the galaxy, but maintain the ability to defend Earth. "That's insufficient," the Oxad declared. "We demand full access to your quantum research. All data, all theories, all applications. The Council must verify you're not developing additional prohibited weapons. That's asking us to surrender our sovereignty." The answer is no. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some species demanded immediate sanctions against humanity. A few, notably the Viridians who'd once been Zelkari subjects, remained silent but watchful. The Council's chair, an ancient being from a species that predated most galactic civilizations, raised a limb for silence. "Ambassador Foster, your species has forced the galaxy into an uncomfortable position. We cannot ignore what you've done. But neither can we ignore that you acted in legitimate self-defense against Zelkari aggression." "Then what do you propose?" Claire asked. "Probationary membership in the Galactic Council. Humanity will be subject to regular inspections and weapons audits. You may maintain defensive forces but cannot deploy them beyond your solar system without Council approval. In return, you receive protection under Council law and access to galactic trade networks." Claire considered the offer. It was better than sanctions or military action, but it placed severe restrictions on human expansion. Earth would be a caged bird, safe but trapped. "I need to consult with my government," she said. "You have 48 hours. Back on Earth, the debate raged through every level of government. Some argued for acceptance, pointing out that humanity needed time to recover from the war. Others demanded rejection, insisting that freedom was worth more than security. President Angela Morris sat in the Oval Office, surrounded by advisors. General Brady, Admiral Hayes, Dr. Chen, and a dozen others all offered competing opinions. "If we refuse, the Council might embargo us," one advisor warned. "Cut us off from galactic civilization entirely?" "Let them try," Brady countered. "We've proven we can defend ourselves. Maybe isolation isn't so bad if it means maintaining our independence. Or maybe it makes us a target," Admiral Hayes said. "Other species see us as a threat now. Without Council protection, they might decide a preemptive strike is their best option." Angela listened to them all, then made her decision. "We accept the probationary membership, but we make it clear that this is temporary. Humanity won't remain in a cage forever. We'll play by their rules for now, build our strength, earn their trust. And when the time comes, we'll renegotiate from a position of greater power." Claire delivered humanity's answer to the Council. The terms were formalized in a treaty signed by all parties. Humanity joined the galactic community, but on someone else's terms. Not everyone was happy with the outcome. Colonel Marcus Webb certainly wasn't. He stood in the ruins of the Valkyrie facility watching workers dismantle the quantum array under alien supervision. "We beat them," he said to Nathan Price. "We showed the entire galaxy that humans are not to be messed with, and now we're letting them inspect our facilities and dictate our defense policy." Nathan adjusted his glasses. The president made the right call. We need time to understand alien technology. Time to build more ships. Time to recover from the war. This treaty buys us that time. At what cost? Less than you think. The quantum research is backed up in a dozen secure locations. The aliens can inspect the physical facility all they want. They won't find anything we don't want them to find. Marcus smiled grimly. So we're already planning for round 2. We're planning to survive. That's always been the priority. Across the galaxy, the recording of the Battle of Earth spread through official channels and black markets alike. Every species watched humanity destroy the Zalkari fleet in minutes. Strategic analysts studied the footage frame by frame, trying to understand how primitive humans had achieved such a victory. The Korathi military held emergency sessions to redesign their defenses. The Azo accelerated their own quantum research programs. The Viridians quietly reached out to human diplomats proposing trade agreements and cultural exchanges. And in the Zalkari Empire, a new government emerged from the chaos of defeat. They purged the old war commanders and adopted a policy of cautious cooperation with the galactic community. The days of easy conquest were over. Humans had proven that even the mightiest empire could fall if it underestimated its enemies. But not every species drew the same lesson from Earth's victory. In the distant Kronos sector, the hive mind observed the human achievement with interest. They were an old civilization, older than the Council, older than most recorded history. They'd conquered thousands of worlds through patience and superior numbers. The hive mind didn't fear human weapons. They'd faced quantum technology before and learned to counter it. What intrigued them was human adaptability. These creatures created revolutionary technology in weeks when facing extinction. Imagine what they could achieve with centuries of development. The hive mind decided humanity was worth studying, worth cultivating, and perhaps, eventually, worth absorbing into the collective. But that could wait. Let the humans grow stronger first. The harvest was always better when the crop fully matured. Back on Earth, life slowly returned to normal. Cities rebuilt. Factories retooled for civilian production. The billions who'd watched the battle in fear now celebrated their survival. Humanity had faced annihilation and won, but Admiral Catherine Hayes knew the truth. The war wasn't over. It had merely paused. The galaxy had learned that humans were dangerous when cornered. Now Earth needed to prove it could be more than just dangerous. It needed to become strong enough that no one would dare corner it again. She stood on the lunar surface, looking at Earth hanging in the black sky. Somewhere up there, her daughter was living a life temporarily freed from the shadow of invasion. Catherine had fought to preserve that future. Now she had to make sure it lasted. "Admiral, the new ship designs are ready for your review," Foster said over the comm. "Send them to my terminal. And Foster, make sure they include quantum displacement systems. Next time we fight, we need to be ready from the start." "Yes, ma'am, though hopefully there won't be a next time." Catherine smiled without humor. "There's always a next time. The only question is whether we'll be ready for it." She walked back to the lunar base, her footsteps leaving marks in the ancient dust. Behind her, Earth continued its eternal rotation, unchanged by war, unmoved by the galaxy's fears and ambitions. Just a blue marble in the void, home to a species that had shown the universe what desperation and brilliance could achieve together. The galaxy had learned an important lesson. When humanity showed its true strength, war officially began. And when humans fought for survival, they didn't play by anyone else's rules. They changed the rules entirely. That made them the most dangerous species in known space, not because they were the strongest or the most advanced, but because they refused to accept defeat. They adapted, they innovated, They broke the unbreakable when they had to. The Zelkari had learned that lesson the hard way. Other species would learn it too, given time. For now, humanity had bought itself breathing room, a chance to heal, a chance to prepare, because the next war was coming. Everyone knew it. The only question was who would start it and whether humanity would be ready to finish it. As Claire Foster left the council station, a Viridian diplomat approached her privately. "Ambassador, my people wish to thank Earth for what you did. The Zelkari enslaved us for decades. Seeing them fall gave us hope. We didn't fight for you," Claire said honestly. "We fought for ourselves. Nevertheless, you changed the galaxy. The old order is cracking. New possibilities emerge. My government would like to discuss an alliance." Claire studied the alien carefully. An alliance? Or are you looking for protectors to replace the Zelkari?
Neither. We seek partners.
Species who understand what it means to fight for freedom. Together, we could reshape the galactic order. That's a dangerous conversation. The Council wouldn't approve. The Council represents the interests of established powers. We represent those who want something different. Think about it, Ambassador. When you're ready to talk, contact us through secure channels. The Viridian walked away, leaving Claire with uncomfortable thoughts. Humanity had joined the galactic community to avoid conflict. Now allies were proposing schemes that could lead to more war. But maybe that was inevitable. Maybe peace was never really an option once you showed the galaxy you could fight. She boarded her ship and set course for Earth. Report to deliver, decisions to make. A future to build, one careful step at a time. The galaxy thought it understood humans now. Claire knew better. They'd seen humanity's military strength. They hadn't yet seen its diplomatic cunning, its economic power, its cultural influence. Those weapons would take longer to deploy. But in the end, they might prove even more effective than quantum arrays. You couldn't dismantle an idea. You couldn't embargo culture. And you couldn't inspect the one weapon humanity had that no other species could match. The absolute refusal to give up no matter how bad the odds became. That was humanity's true strength. And the galaxy was only beginning to understand what it meant. The war had officially begun, yes, but not the war anyone expected. This would be a longer conflict, fought on multiple fronts, with weapons both physical and philosophical, and humanity intended to win it all. 5 years after the Battle of Earth, the galaxy looked very different. The Zelkari Empire had collapsed into civil war. Former subject species declared independence. New alliances formed. Trade routes shifted. The careful order the Galactic Council maintained for centuries unraveled thread by thread. Humanity's role in this chaos was both undeniable and difficult to prove. Earth's diplomats denied any responsibility. They pointed to their treaty restrictions. They welcomed Council inspections. They maintained a purely defensive military posture within their solar system. Yet somehow, liberation movements across the galaxy received advanced weapons. Somehow, species resisting Zelkari rule found themselves with detailed intelligence on enemy positions. Somehow, human merchant ships appeared in contested zones carrying supplies that somehow ended up in rebel hands. Ambassador Claire Foster had become quite skilled at maintaining plausible deniability. She sat across from a council investigator, a Korathi official named Zethix, who clearly suspected human involvement in galactic destabilization. "Ambassador, we've traced several weapons caches to human manufacturers," Zethix said. "How do you explain this? We sell defensive systems to any species that requests them. Under council law, that's perfectly legal. Defensive systems that end up in the hands of insurgent groups? We can't control what our customers do after purchase. If they resell to others, that's beyond our jurisdiction." Zethix's facial tendrils rippled with frustration. "You're hiding behind legal technicalities. We're following council law to the letter. If the law has loopholes, perhaps the council should address that." The meeting ended without resolution, as Claire knew it would. The council couldn't take action without proof of direct human involvement, and that proof didn't exist in any form they could access. Earth's intelligence agencies had learned well from centuries of their own covert operations. They knew how to move in shadows. But the real transformation was happening on Earth itself. The war had changed humanity's perspective. Before the Zelkari attack, Earth's nations still competed and sometimes conflicted. Now they understood that survival required unity. Not political unity, they weren't naive enough to think that possible, but unity of purpose. Every major nation contributed to a unified space defense force. Technology sharing became standard. Economic barriers dropped. The goal was simple: make humanity so strong that no alien species would ever dare attack Earth again. Admiral Hayes commanded the new fleet from her flagship, the Redemption. Around her orbited 300 warships, all built in the 5 years since the war. Not modified civilian vessels, but purpose-built warships incorporating both human innovation and carefully acquired alien technology. Admiral, the deep space sensors are picking up something at the edge of the system, reported Commander Tony Blake. Single ship, unknown configuration. Catherine pulled up the sensor data. The vessel was massive, easily twice the size of the largest Zelkari battlecruiser. It moved with unusual grace for something so big, and its energy signature was off the charts. All ships' battle stations. But hold fire unless I give the order. The alien ship transmitted a message on standard frequencies. The translated text appeared on Catherine's display. Greetings, humans of Earth. We are the archivists. We observe, record, and preserve. We have come to understand what you are becoming. Catherine opened a channel. This is Admiral Catherine Hayes of Earth's Defense Fleet. State your intentions. To observe only. Your species has captured the galaxy's attention. We wish to document your evolution. We're not interested in being studied like laboratory specimens. We do not study. We witness. There is a difference. We have observed 10,000 civilizations over millions of years. You are unique. How so? Most species reach the stars slowly. They develop technology over thousands of generations. They mature culturally before gaining power. You achieve spaceflight in centuries. You developed weapons that break physics in weeks. You are children playing with tools meant for ancients. Catherine bristled at the condescension. If you're here to lecture us, you can leave. Not a lecture, an observation. You are dangerous, yes, but also fascinating. You have potential that few species possess. The question is whether you will reach that potential or destroy yourselves trying. We've survived this long. Against one enemy. What happens when you face many simultaneously? What happens when your innovations are countered? What happens when the galaxy decides you're too dangerous to exist? Then the galaxy learns the same lesson the Zelkari did. We don't go down easy. Indeed, that is what makes you worth watching. The archivist ship withdrew to the outer system, maintaining its distance but remaining present. Its sensors continued monitoring Earth and its activities. Catherine didn't like being observed, but couldn't justify attacking a vessel that had made no hostile moves. On Earth, President Morris met with her Security Council. Opinions on the archivists? They're either what they claim, neutral observers, or they're scouting for someone else. Said General Brady, we need to assume the worst until proven otherwise. Our intelligence suggests they're telling the truth, said Director of Intelligence Patricia Wells. The archivists have appeared throughout recorded galactic history. They never interfere. Just watch and record. Then why now? Why us? Because we're interesting. We're a wild card. Every major power is trying to figure out if we're threat or opportunity. The archivists want to record how that plays out. Great. We're entertainment. More like a case study. Whatever we become, they want to preserve the record for future civilizations. Morris rubbed her temples. 5 years of peace, and now new complications emerged. Keep monitoring them. If they do anything beyond observation, I want to know immediately. In the Chronos sector, the hive mind received reports on human expansion. The species had stayed within their solar system as promised, but their influence spread through proxies and trade. Clever. Ambitious. Exactly the qualities the Hive looked for in potential additions to the collective. "Initiate contact protocols," the Prime Node commanded. "Send diplomatic envoy. Let us see if humans are willing to discuss cooperation." The Hive's approach was different from the Zelkaris, where the Empire conquered through force, the collective absorbed through persuasion. They offered membership, not subjugation. Join us, they told species, and gain access to the combined knowledge and resources of thousands of worlds. Keep your culture, your identity. Just link your mind to ours and share in collective consciousness. Most species refused initially. Then they saw their neighbors prosper under Hive membership. They saw the technological advances, the extended lifespans, the end of conflict and suffering. Eventually, they requested to join. The Hive always welcomed new members. Humanity would be no different. That's what the Prime Node believed. These creatures were innovative but also isolated. Show them what they could achieve as part of something greater, and they'd see the wisdom of joining. The Hive envoy arrived at Earth 3 months after the Archivists. Unlike the massive observation vessel, the Hive sent a small diplomatic ship. It requested permission to dock and was granted clearance after extensive security screening. Ambassador Claire Foster met the envoy in a secure facility. The Hive representative appeared humanoid but moved with unsettling synchronization, as if multiple entities operated the same body. "Greetings, Ambassador Foster. We are Representative 739 of the Hive Collective. We come with an offer. I'm listening. Your species has shown remarkable innovation. The quantum displacement technology alone is centuries ahead of what species at your development level typically achieve. But you remain limited, isolated, vulnerable. We're managing. For now. What happens when the Karate decide you're a threat? Or when the Council imposes harsher restrictions? You're one species against thousands. The mathematics of survival are not in your favor.
What are you proposing?
Membership in the collective. Join us and humanity gains access to technologies from hundreds of member species. Your defensive capabilities would increase exponentially. No power in the galaxy would dare threaten you. And in exchange, you link your collective consciousness to the Hive. Share your knowledge, your experiences, your innovations. Contribute to the greater whole. Claire kept her expression neutral. You want access to our minds, our technology, everything that makes us human. We want to elevate you, preserve your best qualities while removing your limitations. Imagine a humanity without conflict, without suffering, without the isolation you currently endure. Imagine a humanity without freedom, without individuality, without the ability to choose our own path. A common misconception: members retain their sense of self. They simply share that self with others. You would still be human, just connected to something greater. Claire stood. Thank you for the offer. We'll need to discuss it with our government. Of course. But don't wait too long, Ambassador. The galaxy is changing rapidly. Those who don't adapt get left behind, or worse, erased. The meeting ended and Claire filed her report. The consensus was immediate and unanimous. Under no circumstances would humanity join the Hive Collective. The offer was politely declined. The Hive's response was measured. They withdrew their envoy but maintained communication channels. The invitation remained open if humans changed their minds. The Prime Node was patient. Species always came around eventually. Humanity would be no exception. But the Hive's interest prompted reactions from other powers. The Korati proposed a defensive alliance with Earth. The EOCO offered technology sharing agreements. The Viridians accelerated their talks about cooperation. Everyone wanted humanity on their side, or at least not on anyone else's. Earth found itself in the uncomfortable position of being courted by multiple galactic powers. Each offer came with strings attached. Each alliance would mean choosing sides in conflicts that predated human spaceflight. President Morris addressed this in a speech to the Global Assembly.
We stand at a crossroads.
5 years ago, we fought for our survival. Today, we're being asked to help shape the galaxy's future. Some say we should align with the Council's established powers. Others want us to join revolutionary movements. Still others propose we remain neutral and isolated. She paused for effect. I say we choose our own path. We accept no masters. We join no empires. We build our strength until we're too powerful to threaten and too valuable to alienate. Then and only then do we decide what role we'll play in galactic affairs. The policy of strategic independence became official Earth doctrine. Trade with everyone, alliances with no one, defensive preparedness always. It was a difficult path to walk, requiring constant diplomatic maneuvering, but it maintained humanity's freedom to choose its own future. Admiral Hayes implemented the military component of this strategy. New shipyards on Mars and in the asteroid belt produced vessels at an accelerating rate. Research stations developed next-generation weapons systems. Defense platforms ringed the solar system. Humanity was building the capability to defend itself without quantum displacement technology, though the Valkyrie project continued in secret as a last resort option. We need to be ready for anything, Catherine told her senior officers. The Zelkari won't be the last species that sees us as prey. Next time, they'll come prepared. We have to be more prepared. Commander Blake raised a concern. Admiral, we're pushing hard on multiple fronts: ship production, weapons research, territorial expansion. Some analysts worry we're becoming the very thing we fought against, an aggressive military power. There's a difference between being capable of aggression and actually being aggressive. We're building strength to ensure peace, not to conquer others. Will the galaxy see it that way? Honestly, probably not. But I'd rather be feared for our strength than pitied for our weakness. Fear can be managed. Pity gets you conquered. On Mars, the colonies expanded rapidly. What had been research outposts 5 years ago were now cities housing millions. The terraforming projects accelerated. Atmosphere generators worked around the clock. Within a generation, Mars might be fully habitable. But the rapid expansion created social tensions. Colonists developed their own identities separate from Earth. They saw themselves as Martians first, humans second. Talk of independence circulated through underground networks. Earth's government tried to balance colonial autonomy with maintaining unity. They granted Mars significant self-governance while keeping overall strategic coordination. It was a delicate balance that required constant adjustment. Dr. Lisa Chen, now Director of Advanced Research, stood on Mars looking at the red landscape being slowly transformed. She'd been part of the team that created Valkyrie Pan. Now she led projects even more ambitious. How long until the stellar tap is operational? She asked her chief engineer. 6 months if testing goes well. We'll be able to harvest energy directly from the sun. Power output will exceed everything Earth currently generates combined. And the military applications? Significant. With that much power, we can build weapons that make the quantum array look primitive. We could deploy defensive systems that would stop entire fleets. Hell, we could probably move planets if we wanted to. Lisa nodded slowly. Humanity kept pushing the boundaries, creating technologies that would either ensure survival or doom them to destruction. The line between the two grew thinner with each breakthrough. Make sure the safety protocols are bulletproof. The last thing we need is to accidentally blow up the solar system while testing our new toy. Already on it, Director. Back in deep space, the archivist vessel continued its observation. The beings aboard recorded everything: human expansion, political developments, technological breakthroughs, military buildups. They compiled it all into comprehensive records that would last millions of years. They accelerate beyond projected curves, one archivist noted. Adaptation rate is extraordinary. Dangerous rate, another corrected. Such rapid development without corresponding wisdom leads to self-destruction. Calculate probability. Numbers scrolled across their shared consciousness. 63% chance of catastrophic internal conflict within 50 years. 41% chance of external war within 30 years. Combined probability of survival to galactic power status is 18%. Low, but not impossible. Continue observation. This species earns documentation regardless of outcome. On Earth, children grew up in schools teaching both human history and galactic politics. They learned about the HFY War as a defining moment. They studied alien cultures and technologies. They prepared for a future among the stars. Young Marcus Webb, named after the colonel who'd commanded Valkyrie, sat in class learning about the Battle of Earth. His teacher showed footage of the quantum array tearing apart the HFY fleet. "This is our greatest achievement and our greatest warning," the teacher explained. "We proved we could defend ourselves, but we also showed the galaxy that we're willing to break the rules when survival is at stake. That makes us both respected and feared." A student raised her hand. "Are we the bad guys?" The teacher considered carefully. "That depends on perspective. The HFY thought they were bringing order to chaos. The Council thinks they're maintaining stability. We think we're protecting our freedom. None of us are entirely right or wrong. We're just species trying to survive in a universe that doesn't care about our moral judgments. So what should we do? Be strong enough that others must respect us. Be wise enough not to abuse that strength. Be ready for war, but always work for peace. It's a hard balance. But if we can maintain it, humanity has a real chance to thrive." The lesson ended, and Marcus walked home thinking about the future. His grandfather had built the weapon that saved Earth. What would his generation build? More weapons? Or something better? He didn't know, but he understood that the choices his generation made would determine whether humanity became a galactic power or a footnote in the archivist's records. The pressure was immense. But so was the opportunity. As night fell on Earth, billions of people went about their lives. They worked, loved, argued, dreamed. Most didn't think about galactic politics or interspecies conflict. They focused on immediate concerns: paying bills, raising children, finding happiness where they could. But underlying everything was awareness that they lived in a changed universe. The isolation was over. Humanity was part of something larger now, whether they wanted to be or not. The galaxy knew humans existed, knew what they were capable of, knew that dismissing them was a mistake. Admiral Hayes sat in her quarters, reviewing intelligence reports. HFY factions still fighting each other. Hive Collective expanding into former Empire territory. Council members arguing about how to respond to both. New species emerging from isolation to claim their place among the stars. The galaxy was in flux. Old certainties were gone. New patterns hadn't yet formed. In that chaos lay both danger and opportunity. She pulled up a message from Colonel Webb, now retired but still consulted on security matters. "Admiral, latest analysis suggests we have maybe 10 years before someone makes a serious move against Earth. Either the Hive trying to absorb us or the Council deciding we're too unpredictable. Or some new threat we haven't identified yet. 10 years to get so strong that attacking us becomes unthinkable. Can we do it?" Catherine typed her response. "We don't have a choice. Humanity showed its strength once. Now we have to maintain it and grow it until peace becomes the only rational option for our potential enemies. 10 years should be enough. It has to be." She sent the message and looked out her viewport at Earth, the blue marble that started all of this, the home worth fighting for. The species that refused to die quietly, the galaxy had learned that when humanity showed its true strength, war officially began. Now Earth had to teach a second lesson. When humans decided to secure their future, nothing would stop them. Not ancient empires, not collective consciousness, not even the accumulated powers of 1,000 species. Humanity was here. Humanity was strong. And humanity intended to stay that way, whatever it took. The next chapter of the story was being written in real time, and this time, humans would write it themselves, on their own terms, in their own way. The galaxy could accept that, or try to fight it. Either way, humanity wasn't going anywhere. That was the message Catherine wanted to send. That was the future she intended to build. One ship, one alliance, one breakthrough at a time, until the day came when no one questioned humanity's right to exist among the stars. Until peace wasn't a hope but a certainty. until the galaxy looked at Earth and saw not a threat or an anomaly, but simply equals who'd earned their place through strength, wisdom, and an absolute refusal to surrender. That day would come. Catherine would make sure of it, even if it took her entire life and the lives of everyone who came after. Humanity's true strength wasn't any weapon or technology. It was the determination to survive and thrive no matter what obstacles appeared. The Zelkari learned that lesson. Others would learn it too. And eventually, hopefully, everyone would understand that cooperation beat conflict, that strength enabled peace rather than war, that a galaxy with strong humans was better than one without them. That was the future worth fighting for. That was the dream worth protecting. And as Catherine Hayes sat in her quarters looking at Earth and thinking about everything that had led to this moment, she knew with absolute certainty that humanity would achieve it, because when humans decided something was worth doing, they made it happen. History proved that over and over. Now they just had to prove it on a galactic scale. The war had officially begun 5 years ago, but the real war, the one for humanity's permanent place among the stars, was just getting started. And this time, Earth wasn't fighting for survival. They were fighting for the future they deserved. A future where children like Marcus Webb could dream of exploring the galaxy without fear. Where humans could trade, learn, and grow alongside alien species as true partners. Where Earth's innovations benefited everyone rather than just defending against threats. That future was possible. Catherine believed it with every fiber of her being, and she'd dedicate however many years she had left to making it real. Because that's what humans did. They took impossible dreams and made them reality through determination, innovation, and sheer stubborn refusal to accept defeat. The galaxy would learn. Humanity was here to stay. And when humans decided to secure their future, the entire universe had better get out of the way or join them in building something better. That was humanity's true strength. Not weapons, not technology, but the unstoppable drive to turn dreams into reality. The Zelkari had seen the weapons. Now the galaxy would see the dream. And they discovered that the dream was far more powerful than any quantum array ever could be. The war had begun, but humanity intended to end it with peace, prosperity, and a place among the stars that no one could ever take away. That was the promise. That was the goal. And that was what every human in the solar system worked toward, whether they realized it or not. The story wasn't over. It was just beginning. And this time, humans would write the ending themselves.